dan salam Malaysia Madani. Welcome to On the Table. We're broadcasting on RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel 123, which is also live streaming on YouTube. And I'm your host, Otto Othman. The upcoming 46th ASEAN Summit, alongside the second ASEAN Gulf Cooperation Council GCC Summit and the inaugural ASEAN GCC China Summit, is poised to take place in Kuala Lumpur next week. Now, the convergence in Kuala Lumpur is anticipated to redefine regional integration and enhance ASEAN's centrality amidst an increasingly complex geopolitical landscape. Now, to discuss this, we are joined today by Associate Professor Dr. Roy Anthony Rogers, Head of Department, International and Strategic Studies, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, University Malaya. Doctor, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Now, Doctor, how significant is the concurrent hosting of the ASEAN GCC Summit and also the inaugural ASEAN GCC China Summit in Kuala Lumpur amidst the current global tensions like the US-China rivalry? Now, what specific signals does this convergence send about the evolving dynamics of East Asia relations?
Right. Firstly, let me express my sincere thanks and gratitude to RTM, and it's always good to be back here at Wisma Berita. A very good day to all, and especially to Mr. Otto.
Thank you.
Yeah, the last time we met also was on ASEAN.
Yeah. Topic as well. Yeah.
So, as you rightly mentioned, this is for the first time a tripartite meeting. Right, the ASEAN-China GCC, which gathers the 10 members of ASEAN and, of course, China, and the 6 members of the GCC, or the Gulf countries, that includes among them like Saudi Arabia, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, Oman. And I would say this meeting of the 3 components or 3 parties here, each of them has its own strength. As we all know, the Gulf countries are rich with their oil and gas, and China is well known for its technology, both in telecommunication and in other areas as well. So that is China's strength. Whereas Southeast Asia, we are also known for our natural resources, and so therefore, I would say, it's a merge or meeting of these 3 parties, which will bring about greater economic collaboration and discussion. So, and this is for the first time. Yes, we do have ASEAN GCC meeting. I think the last was in 2023 in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia. But for the first time, we also include China into it. So, as I say, each of them have their own strength, and we hope from this meeting it can help to bring about greater cooperation in various areas that includes in digital economy, in green technology, and that is more on economy. And also not forgetting on resources, energy, because countries like the GCC countries are rich with their oil and gas, and even Southeast Asia for that matter. Yeah, so I'm hopeful that this meeting will bring greater cooperation.
Now, let's highlight some potential economic benefits from these summits, right? Such as the ACFTA 3.0, the upgraded version, and initiatives in the digital and also green economies. Now, what are the most substantial economic advantages Malaysia and the broader ASEAN region stand to gain from close multilateral cooperation with the GCC and China as well, particularly in the face of global economic uncertainties, especially US-China trade tensions?
Yeah. As you rightly mentioned, that we are living in the era of uncertainties with the US-China trade crisis. So I believe that through this meeting, right, it can bring about, like, for example, issues to discuss issues like energy security, which is a crucial point in time. And then also for China, there's 2 regions, that is Southeast Asia, which is members of ASEAN, and GCC is also important for China in terms for its Belt and Road Initiative, because the Belt and Road Initiative passes these 2 regions, Southeast Asia and also the Gulf region. And for the Gulf region, the issues like halal industry, cooperation between Southeast Asia which has a huge number of Muslims, especially from Malaysia, from Indonesia. So that can also further enhance this halal industry between the GCC countries and Southeast Asia, or members of ASEAN, in particular Indonesia and Malaysia. And also apart from that, from economy sector, I would say also on issues related to environment, like climate change. These are areas which I hope through this ASEAN-China GCC meeting would be an agenda to be discussed.
And seeing that it's just a couple more days, and looking at the geopolitical situation currently, I hope that, do you think that our presence in the world is being highlighted in other countries as well? Seeing that we're all multiracial, multicultural society as well, I just wanted to add that is it enough that we're doing to be highlighted amongst the world, amongst all the politics that's happening right now, amongst all the instability that's happening right now and the uncertainties? Do you think we are doing enough as ASEAN to highlight, hey, we're doing a multicultural event, we're doing a multi-trade event here, why don't you see us, join us and participate? Do you think we're doing enough?
Well, the word enough sometimes can be very, I would say is abstract. It depends on how one were to interpret. But I sincerely believe that what we are going to discuss in the next few days for the either ASEAN Summit or the ASEAN-China GCC will definitely get attention from other parts of the world. Because just imagine Southeast Asia, which has 10 members within ASEAN, the GCC have 6 countries, right? If you combine that itself, with their GDP, with the various number of or the amount of population, and also these two regions are very important. As I mentioned, that one is a major producer of oil and gas, and also part of the I would say the trade route, the Gulf region, and Southeast Asia, where also part of the major trade route or shipping lanes. So both regions are extremely important. Plus, we have China participating as well. So I'm very certain, yes, I don't deny, there are also other, I would say, hot issues that are happening in other parts of the world, in the Middle East, for example, and of course the still ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict. But definitely this will get some attention.
Hopefully,
yeah.
I do hope so as well. Now, while the summit aims to foster greater multilateral cooperation, what do you foresee as the primary challenges in achieving genuine consensus and also tangible outcomes, especially given the diverse interests and priorities within ASEAN, the GCC, and also China? Yeah,
what we hope to achieve from this cooperation is that bringing these I would say the 2 regions plus China closer, and I think one of the greatest challenge is to enhance intra-regional trade. Right? Yes, the regions trade with other countries, but I hope from this meeting, this inaugural meeting, will further encourage trade between Southeast Asian countries and the GCC countries. And as I mentioned, there are a lot of areas, potential areas for cooperation. That includes issues, areas like energy security, which is one of the key issues, even for China for that matter. China is looking upon the GCC countries for the purpose of energy. And not forgetting food security, which is also, Southeast Asia I would say, is a region of food basket to supply, food in all types of to other parts of the world. So with this meeting, hopefully this can further enhance more trade connectivity, and also I would say matchmaking, not in terms of love, but matchmaking of business among the various communities, countries from GCC and ASEAN, and plus of course China.
Now, the US-China rivalry casts a long shadow over the Indo-Pacific. How might ASEAN's deepening of engagement with China and also GCC be perceived by the United States and its allies in the region? What are the potential diplomatic strategic implications for ASEAN's long-standing policy of neutrality and centrality?
Yes, this is a good question. I wouldn't say that this meeting posed like a challenge or a balance to the presence of US. In fact, ASEAN countries and the GCC countries can be considered a conduit or a bridge between China and the United States. Bear in mind that the GCC countries are close to the United States, or countries like Saudi Arabia, Kuwait. They have good relations with the United States. While the Southeast Asian countries, including Malaysia, we have cordial relations with the United States. So I would say that this can play as a role to bridge between China on one side and United States on the other side, and the GCC countries and ASEAN members can be a conduit or a bridge for these two, rather than to see that this trilateral meeting as a so-called alliance against the US, but it plays a role to bridge, because the ASEAN and GCC countries don't have a major problem with, of course there are ups and downs, but overall their relationship with US or Washington has been fairly positive. Yeah.
And it's like, to put it simply, it's just like we're the middle child.
Yes, yes, yeah.
Making sure that the siblings does not fight, and making sure that we all stay in one big happy family.
True, yeah.
Now, we're going to go for a little short break, and there's more to discuss after this. Stick around.
This year, the 46th ASEAN Summit and related summits bring together Southeast Asia's leaders for a more brighter and connected future.
With peace, prosperity, and partnership at heart, the summit paved the way for regional collaboration in trade, climate action, digital innovation, and more. More than a meeting of minds, it's a celebration of diversity, diplomacy, and determination. Join us as we write the next chapter of ASEAN's journey, inclusivity and sustainability. Welcome to the 46th ASEAN Summit and related summits.
Follow daily reports and live coverage on TV1, Saluran Berita, and RTM ASEAN.
Welcome back to On the Table. Now, Malaysia emphasized civilizational dialogues between Islam and Confucianism. Sorry, I pronounced that correctly. As a foundation of a deeper regionalism. So how can this actually unique cultural and historical perspective contribute to the fostering of stronger and, I would say, multilateral ties between ASEAN and the GCC, predominantly Muslim, of course, and China with Confucianism heritage?
Yeah, as I mentioned, that this ASEAN-China GCC meeting, we should not just solely focus on economy cooperation. No doubt that is one of the key elements of it. But also perhaps we should look at the social dimension. Social dimension in terms of, if you notice that these three regions have been cradle of civilizations. The GCC countries, the Middle East, Islamic civilization, while Southeast Asia also is rich, is a melting pot of various civilizations. Southeast Asia, you can find Chinese civilization, Indian civilization, Malay, then Islamic civilization in Southeast Asia, and of course, as you rightly mentioned, China, the center of the Confucius civilization. So hopefully, one of the key takeaways from this meeting, apart from economic cooperation and those that we have highlighted, is also further enhance this civilizational dialogue. And at this, we already had this civilization discussion, and it was very much supported by our Prime Minister, PMX, on the Islamic dialogue with Islamic dialogue, Confucianism, civilizational dialogue, and we hope that from this ASEAN GCC China meeting, there will be also bring about the social dimension, and that includes education. So let it be not just economy, but also education. Perhaps institutions of higher learning from these three regions can have further cooperation, and also in areas like you rightly mentioned, civilizational dialogue, and then enhancements of youth training, leadership, So I think that should be also one of the key aspects of this meeting, and not just purely on economy or social politics or social political, but also enhance on social as well. Sorry.
And also, being the fact that we are a generational, seeing that we're generational, it's nice to see that we're connecting with each other in this kind of status as well, because sometimes we can see the Gen X might communicate with Gen Alpha in a different way. So having these kinds of events and having ASEAN together, working together, is also a very nice icing towards the cake over there. Now, moving on, the Myanmar crisis and the South China Sea disputes. Disputes are the persistent challenges for ASEAN. Now, how might these presence and engagement of GCC and Chinese leaders during these summits influence discussions and potential pathways forward on these sensitive regional security issues? And could it offer new leverage?
Yeah. As you rightly pointed out, Myanmar definitely is a key issue for ASEAN. If I may comment that it has become almost like a thorn in the flesh for ASEAN since the military coup d'etat. The whole world also focuses on Myanmar and also what ASEAN can do. Yes, we already have the 5-point consensus, but consensus is one thing, but how it can be implemented. And I believe by bringing countries like China will play a more constructive role, because China has its economic investment in Myanmar, and a destabilized Myanmar wouldn't be good for Chinese business, Chinese investment, also because of the BRI, the Belt and Road Initiative. So countries like China, I believe, will have a crucial role in a way it can help to influence the military regime in Myanmar. But of course, ultimately, changes have to come from within. But external parties like China, the other members of ASEAN, will play a crucial role in kind of influence the military government, the current military government within Myanmar. That's on Myanmar. Whereas on South China Sea, I think it is time that the issue on the code of conduct should be materialized. I don't deny the code of conduct has been being, as we say, on the table. It's been on the table for more than 2 decades. But it is time that the parties involved in the claim, or the claimant states, especially even China for that matter, to take the code of conduct seriously, because we need to settle among ourselves without involving a third party, if possible. So code of conduct will be of all interests, whether it is the other claimant states, including Malaysia and even China, to settle among the claimant states rather than involving a third party that may make it more complex. Yeah.
Now, Malaysia, as you know, is a part of BRICS as well. Now, how does this position align with the current chairmanship of ASEAN? Does it signal a potential shift in Malaysia's and perhaps ASEAN's broader geopolitical alignment in a multipolar world?
Yeah, Malaysia's quest to become part of the BRICS, eventually, I think it will become a member of BRICS. I don't see it as moving away from the concept of neutrality. Rather, we are just trying to expand our options, our foreign policy options. And I don't see BRICS as, some may call it as an anti-West bloc, but rather it is a cooperation among some countries, like including Brazil, India, China, Russia. So I would say that Malaysia's quest to be part of BRICS is to enhance, or rather broaden our options, rather than just to rely on our traditional partners, while we still maintain the friendship with our traditional partners. For example, with the United States, we have a cordial relations with KL, between KL and Washington. US remain as one of our largest trading partner, as one of the largest foreign investor to Malaysia. But we also broaden our options by becoming a member of BRICS.
Simple as that.
Yeah.
Now, considering the significant investment and infrastructure projects under China's Belt and Road Initiative in both Southeast Asia and the Gulf region, how can ASEAN and GCC nations ensure that these collaborations are mutually beneficial and sustainable, avoiding potential issues related to debt, sustainability, and sovereignty concerns?
Yeah, that it all requires to what extent, for example, the members of GCC and ASEAN is able to negotiate with China, because the two regions, as I earlier on mentioned, are very important for the BRI, because it passes through these two regions. Southeast Asia, the Straits of Malacca, Straits of Sunda, into the Indian Ocean, while the GCC countries, the Gulf region, connecting the Middle East to the Mediterranean Sea. So it depends on how these countries are able to navigate and negotiate at the two ends, navigate and negotiate with China on to bring better leverage for them from all these projects and all, and not to solely depend on China or the issues of debt and all.
Now, how critical is Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim's leadership and diplomatic skill successfully convening this unprecedented ASEAN GCC China trilateral summit, and what does this say about Malaysia, its role in amplifying the voices of the global South?
It is, to me, it is very clear. Since Datuk Sri Anwar became the Prime Minister, or the 10th Prime Minister of PMX in 2022, he has already demonstrated the skill of very professional diplomat. Of course, he is a Prime Minister, but also at the same time, he is, I always say, Malaysia's best salesman to promote the country abroad. Mm-hmm. So he has been doing that par excellence. The moment he became Prime Minister, he visited all the 10 Southeast Asian countries or the neighboring countries, starting with Indonesia, Singapore, Thailand, and then subsequently he has made visits to the countries a bit further from the region, China, India, and the Middle Eastern countries. So I think he has been doing a wonderful job as I said, a diplomat come the best salesman of Malaysia to promote the country, the product, as a country itself. And this is a continuation of the legacy of the Prime Ministers of Malaysia. If you look at from the time Tengku was the Prime Minister, each of them have their diplomatic skills. And likewise, Datuk Sri Anwar
has that as well.
Yeah, true.
Now, finally, Doctor, looking beyond the immediate outcomes of this summit, what is the long-term vision for the role of multilateral cooperation between ASEAN and GCC and China in shaping this future of regional and global governance amidst increasingly multipolarity and persistent geopolitical tensions? What key indicators should we look for to assess, and also in terms of success of these engagements?
Yeah, that is very true, that it is not just a one-off meeting. And although this is the inaugural meeting, the first meeting ever of the three parties, or tripartite meeting, let it be, will be a part of ASEAN summits. The future, we are the chair for 2025. Next year, Philippines will be taking over. So hopefully this tripartite meeting will continue. I think that is one of the key indicators, that it's not a one-off meeting held in Kuala Lumpur. One. Number two, what is the spillover of this meeting? Well, as I mentioned, increase of intra-trade between the two regions of each other. And also, what are the other the issues that we take back home to get that, as I told you, cooperation in other fields. Apart from economy, yes, that is very important in the area of education, say universities or institutions of higher learning from the GCC countries, from ASEAN, all right, enhancements of youths. All these activities have to be, kind of, to me, line up as a result of this meeting. that will be a key indicator that it is not a one-off meeting, number one, and the spillover effect, that we see the fruits of it, and that includes, apart from economic indicators, also the social indicators.
And there's also another thing whereby I think that Malaysia is giving a lot to the ASEAN region. For example, the National Training Week, I've interviewed one of its members, and the idea is to expand it to ASEAN as well, meaning there's free training for a whole week or for a whole year, and this will be adopted in other ASEAN member countries as well, and they see the interest in that. And seeing that Malaysia's this year's ASEAN Summit is being held in KL, I would see that we are also trying to share our culture with other member states as well, and those others as well coming into Malaysia. So how do you think our position now in Malaysia? Are we just too giving, or are we like more serious in making more policies, making more relations towards that?
Well, of course, I don't deny we have been very much giving. ASEAN itself, when it was established, we were one of the founding members. And then in 1971, one of the first declaration, ZOFAN, Zone of Peace, Freedom and Neutrality, it was also Malaysia's initiative. And 2005, when we were the chair of ASEAN, the East Asian Summit was established. 2015, the three communities, when we were 10 years ago, and now. So every time when we become the chair, not to say we want to blow our own trumpet or in Malaysia, angkat bakul sendiri, but that is a fact that there is, when Malaysia becomes the chair of ASEAN, there is a significant contribution, a hallmark in that. But it somehow, it comes, the goodness, some comes back to Malaysia through, say, stability of the region.
Yeah, we're just very giving and humble as well.
Yeah.
You come to our country, come. This is what we're going to give you.
Typical Malaysia, truly Asia. Or,
truly Asia. So I think that's all the time that we have for today's On the Table this evening. I'd like to thank our Associate Professor, Dr. Roy Anthony Rogers from the Department of International and Strategic Studies, Faculty of Arts and Social Sciences, University Malaya, for coming to the studio and also sharing with us his thoughts and insights.
Welcome. Thank you.
Now, a repeat of this episode's broadcast can be viewed again at the same time tomorrow, and subsequent days on both RTM Click and MyTV's Berita RTM channel, as well as Berita RTM YouTube channel. Now, until next Thursday, we're going to discuss much more other topics of interest. So from till then, I'm Otto Othman. Thanks for watching.